Today we're going to review for our Chapter 4 test, which is two-digit subtraction. Our objective is, today we will review two-digit subtraction for our Chapter 4 test. Okay, boys and girls, our first one, number 1, says 52 minus 11. I'm going to go ahead and separate my tens and 1 by drawing that T chart just so I have it and I can look at the tens and 1s first. Okay. Boys and girls, our first step is to start with the ones place. So I'm going to decide if I have enough to subtract. So I'm going to look at my ones place. I have 2 on top and 1 on the bottom. I have more on top, so our poem says no need to stop. I can just subtract. 2 take away 1 is going to be 1. 5, now I move to the tens place. 5 tens take away 1 10 is going to be 4 tens. My answer is 41B. On the test, I want you to make sure to do the work and circle your answer. You need both steps. Boys and girls, number 2 says 32 take away 10. Again, I'm going to split my tens and 1s apart with my T-chart. My step tells me that I always have to start with the ones place. So I'm going to look at my two numbers. I'm going to ask myself, more on top, more on the floor, or are they the same? I see that 2 on top is bigger than 0, so I have more on top, which means I don't need to stop. I'm just going to subtract. 2 take away 0 is going to be 2 because I've taken away nothing. Now I'm going to move to my tens place and subtract there. I have 3 tens. They want to take away 1 10. 3 tens take away 1 10 is 2 tens. Therefore, my difference is 22. So I'm going to circle I, 22. Remember, you have to show me your work and you have to circle your answer. I need to see both things on the test for you to get it correct. Boys and girls, number 3 says 87 minus 46. Again, I'm going to split my tens and 1s with my T-chart. Now, my first step is to start with the 1s, and I'm going to think, do I have enough to subtract? I'm going to ask myself, is there more on top, more on the floor, or are they the same? Well, 7 is bigger than 6, so I have more on top, and my poem goes, more on top, no need to stop, so I'm just going to subtract. 7 1s take away 6 1s, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1. Now I'm going to move to my tens place. I have 8 tens and they're taking 4 tens. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. 4 tens. My answer is C, 41. I did the work over here and I circled my answer. You need to do both on the test. Hey, boys and girls, on number 4, I have 66 and they're taking away 36. Again, I'm going to draw my line to separate my tens and 1s. Now my directions say I always start with the 1s place. So I have in my 1s place a 6 and a 6. I have to ask myself, do I have more on top, more on the floor, or are they the same? Well, 6 is the same as 6, so my poem goes, if they're the same, then 0's the game. So I know that this is going to be 0. Now I have to move to my tens place. I have 6 tens and they want to take away 3 tens. 6, 5, 4, 3 tens are left over. Therefore, my answer is G, 30. I showed my work and I circled the correct answer. Make sure that you do both parts. Number 5 says 44 take away 25, or 44 minus 25. Again, I'm going to start by separating my tens and 1s. Now I have to start with the 1s place and think, do I have enough to subtract? Do I have more on top, more on the floor, or are they the same? Well, I know that 5 is bigger than 4, so I have more on the floor, which means I have to go next door and get 10 more. I have to decompose. I'm going to take 1 10 from 4 tens. If I take 1 10 from 4 tens, that's going to be 3 tens left over. Then I'm going to take my 10 and I'm going to give it to the 4 ones. So 1 10 and 4 ones is 14. Now I can subtract the 5 because I have enough. 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9. 9 ones. Now I have to subtract my tens. I don't have 4 tens anymore because I decomposed a 10. Now I have 3 tens. 3, 2, 1. 1 10. So my answer is A, 19. I showed my work, and that's important because on this one I had to decompose, so I had to break apart a 10. So it's important that you show your work and circle your answer. Number 6 says 52 take away 16 or minus 16 or subtract 16. Again, I'm going to separate my tens and ones. And I always start with the ones place. And my first step is to think, do I have enough to subtract? More on top, more on the floor, or are they the same? Well, I know that 6 is bigger than 2, so I have more on the floor. My poem says, more on the floor, go next door and get 10 more. So if I go to my 5 tens and take 1 10 away, I'm going to have 4 tens left over. Now I'm going to give my 10 to the 2 ones, and that's going to be 12. Now I have enough in the ones place to subtract. 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. 6 ones. Now I'll move to my tens place. 4 tens take away 1 10 is 3 tens. If I had not crossed out my 5 tens and I tried to subtract, I would have gotten 4 and that would have been incorrect. So my answer is H, 36. Again, I'm showing my work and circling my answer. Hey, number 7 says, regroup the tens, draw the ones, cross out the cubes to find the answer. I don't really want to do that on this one. I want to set up my problem. I'm going to set up my problem by stacking my numbers. So I'm going to draw my T-chart. Now, my first number is the bigger number, and that's 61. That one always goes on top. So 61 is the number I start with. Now I have to subtract my other number, which is 23. So that one goes on bottom. 2 tens, 3 ones. Now that my problem's set up, I can subtract. I start with my ones place, and I have to think. Do I have enough to subtract? Well, is there more on top, more on the floor, or are they the same? I know that 3 is bigger than 1, so I have more on the floor. My poem says if I have more on the floor, I have to go next door and get 10 more. I have to decompose. So I go to my tens and I take 1 10 from 6 tens, which gives me 5 tens left over. I add a 10 to my 1 and I get 11. Now 11 is bigger than 3, so I may subtract. 11, 10, 9, 8. 8 is my difference in my ones place. Now I have to move to my tens place and I have to subtract my tens. 5 tens, 4, 3 tens. Remember, because I crossed out this 6 tens and I took a 10 away, I only have 5, so I have to subtract from the 5. And I can see that my answer is A, 38. Make sure you show me your work by stacking them, as well as circle the answer. Okay, this one says number 9, but they messed it up, and so really it should be number 8, so I can change that to say 8. There we go. All right, number 8. Your number sentence is 78 minus 16 equals 62. Write an addition fact you could use to check your subtraction. Well, I know if I stack this, that I actually have 78 minus 16 equals 62. Now, In order to check my work, I have to add two numbers. Remember from class, we circle the bottom two numbers, and those are the ones that we have to add together. Hopefully, if we do it right, that is our sum, which is the top number one we started with. So I have 16. I have 16, and I'm going to add 62 to 16. You have to put this addition sign there because otherwise you're not showing me that you're adding. So if you do not put the addition sign, it will be marked wrong. Okay, 6, 7, 8, 8. Go to my tens. 1 10 plus 6 tens is 7 tens. So, did I have the same answer as what I started with? Yes. Therefore, I got the correct answer when I subtracted. This is what you will have to show me on the test to show me how to add to see if you check your work. Number 9, it says break apart numbers to subtract. We didn't do this. We chose not to do that, so you can cross that out. What I really want you to do is I want you to set up your T-chart. I want you to set up the problem, and I want you to solve it. So I start with 36. That's my bigger number. That's the one that's going to go on top. Then I take my 23 away from 36. Now I can go ahead and solve. I start with my ones, and I think, do I have enough to subtract? More on top, more on the floor, or are they the same? Well, 6 is bigger than 3, so I have more on top, which means I don't need to stop. I don't have to decompose. I can just subtract. 6, 5, 4, 3. 3 ones. Now I'm going to move to my tens place. I have 3 tens, and I'm going to take away 2 tens. 3, 2, 1. 1 10. Therefore, my answer is 13. If you really want to, you can write it over here. But this is what I'm looking for on this problem. Number 10 says, there are 35 dogs in the dog park. I think 35 is going to be an important number, so I'm going to underline it. Then it says 20 dogs get loose and run away. How many dogs are left in the park? Well, if I think about this, I started with 35 dogs, so I'm going to put that on the top because I know that that's going to be a part of my equation. Now, 20 dogs running away tells me that they leave, which means I'm going to be subtracting. And I'm going to subtract those 20 dogs to see how many I have left. Once I set up this problem, then I can solve. I start with my ones, and I think, do I have enough to subtract? More on top, more on the floor, or are they the same? 5 is bigger than 0, so I have more on top. I don't need to stop. 5 ones take away 0 is going to be 5. Now I'm going to move to my tens place. I have 3 tens, and they want to take away 2 tens. 3, 2, 1. That means I have 15 dogs left in the park. I'm going to also write my answer next to the blank line. I have to show my work by writing out a problem and solving it, and I have to put my answer in the answer spot. If I don't do those things, I will get it wrong, so make sure that you pay attention to what you're doing on the test. Number 11 says, Sammy went fishing with his grandfather. They caught 30 fish in all. His grandfather caught 17. How many fish did Sammy catch? So on this one, if you remember when we first started, we did part wholes. They're telling us that they have 30 fish that they caught all together. Grandpa caught 17, and we don't know how much Sammy caught. So that tells me I'm going to be subtracting from my total. So I'm going to set up my problem. 30 goes on top because that's my total. 17 is what I'm taking away. All right, now I can start solving my problem. I start with the ones place and I think, do I have enough subtract? More on top, more on the floor, or are they the same? Well, 7 is what I have, is the bigger number. I know 7 is bigger than 0. and that's on the floor. So my poem tells me if sevens or the bigger numbers on the floor, then I have to go next door and get 10 more. I'm going to take one 10 from 3 tens, which will give me 2 tens. Then I'm going to bring that 10 over to my ones place, and I'm going to add it to the ones that I had. I had 0 ones, so that means I just have 10 from what I decomposed. Now I can subtract 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. 3 ones. Now I'm going to move to my tens place. I have 2 tens and I want to take away 1 10. 2 tens, 2, 1. I have 1 10 left over. So that means I have 13 fish that Sammy caught. Remember, you have to show me your work and set it up and write it in the answer spot to get full credit. Number 12 says, there was a bag with 45 dog bones in the garage. Buffy the poodle knocked over the bag and ate 18. How many bones are left? Well, if we start out with 45 and 18 get eaten, that means we're taking away. So I'm going to set up my T-chart. Remember, I always start with the number, the bigger number, the number that I started out with, which was 45 on top. They want to take away 18 because he ate them. Now I can go ahead and solve. My first step is to think, do I have enough ones to subtract? More on top, more on the floor, or are they the same? Well, I know 8 is the bigger number, so that means I have more on the floor, so I have to go next door and get 10 more. If I take 1 10 from 4 tens, I have 3 tens. If I add a 10 to 5 ones, I have 15. Now I can subtract. 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7. I have 7 ones. Now I can subtract my tens. 3 tens take away 1 10 is going to be 2 tens. So therefore, there are 27 bones left in the bag. This is number 13. It is our last one. That's why we have the big old stop sign at the bottom. 13 says, in math class, Ellie and Emmy put cubes together. They had 70 cubes in all. That's the total. So in my part whole, I have 70. 70 is my whole. Now, it tells me Ellie had 46. So that's one of my parts, Ellie's. They're asking me how many did Emmy have? I don't know that. Well, I know if I have a whole and one part, that tells me I need to subtract. So I'm going to go ahead and set up my T-chart. I started out with my whole, which is 70, and I'm going to subtract the part, which is 46. Okay, now I can subtract. I have to think, looking at the ones place, do I have enough to subtract? Well, more on top, more on the floor, or are they the same? 6 is bigger than 0, so that means I have more on the floor, which tells me to go next door and get 10 more. 7 tens, if I take 1 10, I get 6 tens. If I add a 10 to 0, I get 10. Now I can subtract. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. 4 is my answer for my ones place. Now I'm going to go to my tens and subtract my tens. Remember, I took a 10 away. I don't have 7 tens now. I have 6 tens. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. How many tens do I have? I have 2 tens. Therefore, Emmy had 24 cubes. Remember, you have to show me your work and you have to write your answer. If you do those things and you ask yourself and you go through the steps and you take your time, you will find the right answer. Now, remember, every single one, you can take the 2 bottom numbers, your difference and your other part, You can add those together to see if you got the right answer, so everyone can check their work on the test.